Are you familiar with the common prosperity policies adopted by the Chinese Communist Party? The Chinese economy is curious because although there is considerable economic freedom that allows for the development of a strong technological sector and many innovative companies, the country is still governed by a communist party that maintains rigid political control. In not so subtle words, a dictatorship. The recent change in China's political and economic configuration in recent years has generated controversy and uncertainty in the global market. While some see the Communist Party's common prosperity strategy as an opportunity for social justice and income distribution, others warn of the risks of an egalitarian doctrine that can stifle innovation, business freedom, and human creativity. But hey, you there! Before we continue, I want to make a special request to you. Subscribe to the channel, leave a like on the video, and turn on notifications. That way, you'll receive all the interesting content I'm preparing especially for you firsthand. Due to China's unique political and economic configuration, many journalists end up attributing the country's prosperity solely to central state planning, while also pointing to capitalism as the cause of serious issues such as pollution that plagues many of its cities. However, this peculiar combination seems to be coming to an end. China is undergoing significant changes in its political and economic configuration. The Chinese Communist Party has set new government goals aimed at reclaiming more traditional socialism. This includes policies such as the prohibition of effeminate portrayals in the media and the promotion of a more masculine image of China. Additionally, the country is also reversing its one-child policy in favor of families with more children. These changes are part of a larger strategy called the Common Prosperity Strategy, which aims to improve the material and spiritual life of every Chinese citizen, offering an alternative to the previously existing model of unequal prosperity. One of the most notable measures of the new strategy is the pursuit of a model similar to that adopted in Germany. This means that companies will have a more active role in the economy through taxes that would provide financial resources to the government to be directed towards social policies. An example of this is the massive investment by the Chinese government in public health policies, such as the construction of new hospitals and the hiring of more healthcare professionals to meet the growing demands of the population. Another example is the expansion of the social security system, which aims to ensure a more dignified old age for Chinese citizens. However, despite these measures appearing beneficial at first glance, it is important to be aware of the dangers of the egalitarian doctrine that underpins this model of socialism. Although the new Chinese political phase may seem less strict with corporate participation through taxes, Chinese market actors have quickly adapted to Xi Jinping's new political tone. For example, Tencent has already announced changes and billion-dollar investments in a common prosperity agricultural fund. However, wealthy Chinese have reasons to fear the Communist Party's persecution of non-government-aligned entrepreneurs, such as the case of Jack Ma. While this change may be seen as a step forward for advocates of social justice theories, who believe in distributing the fruits of the economy among the poorest, it is important to remember that any social engineering has effects that are not immediately apparent to the average socialist. Imagine a company that is thriving and has the opportunity to expand its operations. Before making any decisions, the entrepreneur needs to consider whether this action aligns with any of the Chinese Communist Party's objectives. In this sense, growing, enriching, and making the company superior to the competition can be a trap. This is because the new common prosperity strategy has the explicit goal of not being complicit in the prosperity of a few. This distorted incentive structure can lead less efficient companies to work with the safeguard that they will not be crushed by high-level competitors. Similarly, an innovation that makes competitors obsolete may not be implemented in the market, since its own invention may make the company a target of central planners. The predictable result of this common prosperity plan is the implementation of a system that reverses the values that allow prosperity. Instead of rewarding success, there is disincentive. Instead of accelerating the economy, there is an incentive for waste. The brightest minds have to conform to a lower level than the work they can actually do. In the not-too-distant future, each individual will have the goal of becoming a common worker performing common tasks without running the risk of standing out among others. China's recent educational policy, which banned private educational courses and tutorials, illustrates the point that the Chinese government is committed to standardizing the education and thinking of the new generations, regardless of the economic costs that this ambition may require. However, all national policy transformations bring immense questions. After all, why did China decide to take a step back and abandon all the best it has achieved in recent decades? Deng Xiaoping promoted market openness that took China from a clearly backward state and made it prosper. Today, China has the world's second-largest economy, and many believe that it will soon surpass the United States and take the lead in the world. So why risk all previous achievements? Ironically, perhaps all these strange events in China are an attempt to finally implement the communist revolution in all its fullness. This concept may not be very intuitive, but it is worth trying to understand it. You probably already know, but it's worth remembering that the Russian Revolution was a historical landmark that changed the course of the world. However, many people wonder what caused the failure of the Soviet socialist system. The answer lies in the impossibility of economic calculation in a society without private property and a price system, which are essential for making efficient economic decisions. But what may be less known is that socialist theorists still debate the question of why the Soviet Union did not win the Cold War, and whether socialism can triumph in the future. Following Marxist theory, one interpretation would be that Russia was doomed to fail in the revolution because it had not gone through the capitalist phase. According to Marx, the engine of history takes society through various different productive phases, such as feudalism, capitalism, and socialism. In Russia, the economy was based on serfdom and rural production, in a model we could call feudalism. For socialism to be successful, it would be necessary for the country to go through a mature phase of capitalism, with the development of productive forces and a more complex economy. However, in 1917, the Communist Party took power and took the initiative to modernize the country, theoretically skipping one of the stages of historical materialism. This led to a series of challenges, such as the lack of efficient economic planning and the establishment of an authoritarian state that suffocated individual freedom. It is important to emphasize that this is only one interpretation of the Marxist view of Soviet failure, and that there are other theories and approaches to understanding this historical moment. But yes, the Soviet experiment is widely recognized as a failure, and its legacy is considered monstrous by many. And what we can note is that Chinese leader Xi Jinping is making decisions based on this kind of theory. It is possible that the opening phase promoted previously by Deng Xiaoping in China may have been a strategic retreat to allow for the construction of a capitalist industrial complex in the country. Xi Jinping may be judging that he is now in a position to carry out the great expropriation of the bourgeoisie and get it right where Stalin went wrong. So here we can raise the question, is China following the same path as the Soviet Union, despite adopting a different approach? Looking from a socialist perspective, the strategy of looting modern factories and production resources would seem smarter than looting a country like Russia in 1917, whose main means of production was still the plow. Indeed, Xi Jinping may be seeing the advantage of there being much more to loot in modern China. However, the issue is that the impossibility of economic calculation still persists, and the failure of communism is not simply resolved by socializing means of production in a relatively richer country. There are several centralized decisions in the Communist Party that are bound to fail, of which the one-child policy is probably the most eloquent example. We won't delve further into the argument of the impossibility of economic calculation in this video, or it will become too long. I will leave the sources for the content covered in the description. It's important to remember that, despite the Chinese Communist Party strengthening its control over the private economy, there are various factors that can influence the direction of the Chinese economy. Resistances and projects within the party itself, as well as external factors, can affect the direction that the country will take. Although the media that receives economic incentives from the regime may praise the party's Common Prosperity Project, it's essential to have a critical view of what's happening. We must remain vigilant and follow the developments of the Chinese economy, such as new alliances that are being established. I'm even planning to bring a video about that with updated information. If you liked the video, don't forget to leave a like, share it on your social media, subscribe to the channel, and click on the bell to be notified about new videos. Thank you for watching so far.